You're listening to the Night Demon Network. Go to nightdemon.net/subscriber to unlock more exclusive content.
Hello and welcome to the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast. I'm your host Nesbit, and it's been a long, deep dive into Night Demon history. And today we wrap up this chapter of the Night Demon story. This is the 2014 Extermination Tour.
Here's a new world for the Dark Lord! This is Satan!
So the 2014 Extermination Tour, opening for Raven, touring America, was over 10 years ago. And one really fortunate detail of this tour was the presence of Andrew Bansal. So as a journalist who's like traveling in tow with the band, his daily tour blog captured a lot of details that would have been, forgotten otherwise. In addition to audio and video of this tour, in the subscriber section of nightdemon.net, we have all 10 parts of his tour blog for download, complete with all the pictures he took along the way. So it's been a long trip, and now we wrap up Night Demon on the 2014 Extermination Tour.
What an experience. It's funny to no longer be in the band and to think about the excitement and the newness and the unknown of it, but how I was willing to do whatever it took, which was much different mentality than when I decided to leave the band because I didn't want to do whatever it took anymore. I was over it, you know? So it's interesting to think about it 10 years later and to kind of, you know, I don't want to say reminisce, but to, you know, I don't know, to just kind of think back on it and how far the band has come and how far we've all come as people, and, you know, Brent leaving the band and Armand stepping in and, you know, obviously the rest is history. So I'm super proud of everything. And, you know, I've said this before, and I wouldn't change anything for the world, you know. So that was an experience that I'll never forget. And to have that opportunity to see that many places and to be in that many states, not many people get to do that. And now that I live a normal life, you know, I see the difficulties in being able to travel that much. And when you talk to people that work jobs and have worked jobs their entire lives, you know, they really miss out on seeing this country and this world. And, you know, I was lucky enough to be in the position to go and see stuff. Whether or not I had a pot to piss in or any money in my pocket, it didn't matter. That experience you can never take away, and that's priceless.
We have Andrew Bansal's Metal Assault blog, and I am going to run through this right now. We've got part 9 and 10 to close this out, this long saga of our very first real tour. Okay, so here we go with part 9, Rising in the East. Day 51, November 18th, 2014, Detroit, Snow City. We left our Fort Wayne, Indiana host's place in the afternoon on the 18th and set out for the gig at Token Lounge in Detroit. It was freezing cold throughout the drive, and as we were still trying to figure out the optimal air conditioning settings to maintain heat inside the van, there was a discrepancy between the front and the back seats. It was so cold outside that rolling the windows down was never an option, and even farts had to stay inside. Brent and I were sitting in the back, and the floor of the van felt like an ice cube to us, freezing our feet by the time we got to the venue around 6. It took me quite a while to start feeling my feet again, and it didn't happen until after Night Demon finished playing another successful set. Headbanging with 4 layers of clothing on you really does wonders in cold weather. Afterwards, we had pizza for the 800th time on this tour from a Krusty's pizza joint next door. On the post-show drive from the venue to a friend's house for an overnight stay, we listened to Kiss's Detroit Rock City, even though Detroit didn't exactly feel like a rock city on this day. The song somehow felt appropriate, and despite what anybody might say about the current image of their main band members, Kiss will always be synonymous with timeless rock and roll. I agree with that. Day 52, November 19th, Warp Riders. We departed Detroit in the morning, and heeding strong weather alerts, took a longer alternate route to get to the next gig at Mac's Bad Art Bar in Syracuse, New York. Despite Buffalo getting a deadly snowstorm that buried in a year's worth of snow in a mere 3 days, we managed to escape the aftermath, but it snowed for the entire day, and this time Brent pulled off a marathon drive by handling most of the journey while Jarvis and Dusty grabbed some shut-eye in the back. Snow was hitting the windshield horizontally and head-on, making it look almost like we were moving at warp speed, which was quite a psychedelic experience. The show itself in Syracuse was another good one in the books, with first local opener Costin, a cover band featuring Roy Costin on guitar and Son Gunner on drums, played a solid set. Their rendition of Scorpions' Bad Boys Running Wild was particularly delightful, complete with the lyrics pronounced exactly as they should be. For Night Demon, it was not only fruitful to win some new fans here, but they were also excited to have Gary Bordonaro of the Rods in attendance. But in contrast to our relatively smooth, prompt arrival, Raven faced vehicle problems yet again and made it just in time to play the gig, reaching the venue at the start of Night Demon's set. Their woes didn't end there. After playing a righteous and well-received set, as they prepared to head out, the airlift in their RV got iced and stopped functioning. They tried everything they could to get it going, and after a while, they borrowed Jarvis's blow dryer, which did the trick. Both bands were going to stay at Roy Costin's house for the night and the off day that followed. And the prospect of spending that much time with Raven in one house was intriguing for all of us.
We were in New York, I believe. I'm going to look at the date here, but the one show when we were in New York, so this tour was October, November, and it was snowy. We had some insane freaking storms. So it was the Syracuse show, but we came from Detroit and went to Syracuse, and I had to detour south to get around this storm that dropped like 6 feet of snow in Buffalo, and it was brutally cold. And those guys, after that show, were using a blow dryer to try to warm up their fuel line so they could start the RV. It was just freaking gnarly. They had a hell of a time. But you know what? They did whatever they had to do to make it to the gigs.
Okay, so look, here it goes. My memory, this is so great why we have this podcast and why we have this blog. I thought the Rods played with us. They didn't. Gary from the Rods was at the show. It's kind of local to them, but see, this is great that we can have this. And yes, I do remember my blow dryer doing the trick there. Day 53, November 20th, A Day with Raven. I woke up to the sound of Joe Hasselvander chatting away. I hung out with him for the first time on this tour and for quite a while discussing all kinds of topics ranging from music to paranormal activity. The man overflows with an endless number of cool stories and can literally talk all day. We were fed very generously by the Costin family, and staying indoors was just about the best thing to do on this cold, snowy day. A good chunk of time was spent on the television. The whole group watched the movie Bad Grandpa, and the Raven guys were laughing extremely hard. Roy Costin being a huge Kiss fan, there was a Paul Stanley signature acoustic guitar in his living room, and Joe started strumming on it. He proceeded to jam with Gunnar Costin in the family's practice room in the basement. As the night wound down, yet more food and drinks were consumed, and it was John Gallagher's turn to play that guitar. He and Mark made a list of songs they wanted to cover and jammed on them for well over an hour. There were pictures of Raven from the old days on Roy's walls, and in his kitchen were the Gallagher brothers jamming acoustically. It was such a trip. Being in that kitchen, as the Night Demon guys also joined in on the fun, was special and unique, and certainly made this one of the best days of the entire tour. Also, Roy's massive CD and record collection floored all of us. Dusty's sweatpants, in particular, laying his hands on, I think that's a typo, laying his hands on some of the cheesiest hair metal from Roy's stash, and burning 8 CDs on his computer and, in turn, on his iPod. CDs and iPod, huh? That tells you how long ago this was, or how fast technology has gone, really. When he's driving the van and has his iPod playing, at most times, it's hard to tell whether it's his iPod or the actual on-air local radio station, such as the amount of glam and butt rock in his music collection. With these new additions, his iPod sounds even more like the radio now. Day 54, November 21st, Big City Nights. We bid goodbye to the Costin family and continued on our path, the next destination being St. Vitus Bar in Brooklyn, New York. The drive was easy, temperatures had risen, and the snow was appearing to be moving away. But the last few miles to get to the actual venue were the hardest. People living in or visiting LA invariably complain about traffic and parking, but based on my first experience in New York, I'll have to say it's much worse than LA, and the city is filled with extremely bad, arrogant drivers. St. Vitus Bar is a place frequented by plenty of touring metal bands, so I'd heard the name a lot, and hence this was one of the shows I was most looking forward to as soon as I saw the schedule for this tour. It's a tiny room, and it got fairly packed. Aside from the sound guy's insistence on all bands sharing backline and drum kit, Night Demon very much enjoyed their first ever NYC gig. Raven's RV broke down again, and they rented a U-Haul to try and make it to the gig. An hour after Night Demon's longest set of the tour ended, Raven arrived. This being a Friday night helped Raven tremendously in this situation, as people were able to wait it out to see them. They went on to play a short set, but it was one of their best performances of the tour, perhaps an outlet for the frustrations they had to endure during the day. So yeah, I mean, look, as much as this was a hard tour for Night Demon, and as how young and broke we were, and green too. I mean, we'd all toured before, but I don't know, it just felt different this time around. And we felt like we were kind of starting out as a band. And no matter how many times you've toured, you know, when you're in a newer band or starting out as a new band and you're starting from scratch, it's almost harder. I mean, it's nice that you have some experience, but your eyes are not, you're not as wide-eyed about things, right? You're not as, you know, Andrew's writing here, it's a lot different. He's experiencing everything for the first time. And it's a great experience for him. It was great for us too, because we were chasing our dream and following the path, you know, and really building ourselves up as a band. So it felt like we had some stock in what we were doing, and it was worth it. But the Raven guys, you know, after doing this, I mean, this was their 40th anniversary, this tour, and they had just as many problems as us, if not fucking more. So, you know, both bands really stuck it out to make this tour happen. The Night Demon merch, sorry, I'm continuing to read on now. This is in Andrew's voice. The Night Demon merch has been selling really well on this tour. And as a result, stock started to run really low at this point. For people whose sizes were no longer available in a particular design, I had to either convince them to buy their size in a different design or get a smaller or bigger size in their design of choice. I definitely took my salesmanship to a new level at St. Vitus Bar. After the gig, Dustin drove us straight to Philadelphia, and a strange day awaited us. Day 55, November 22nd. Get the fuck out. We drove to Philadelphia's legendary Dobbs to set up for the show. And despite having been to some very small venues on this tour, we were a little taken aback by how tiny the downstairs room was, a narrow enclosure with a small stage, and the bar taking up half the room's width almost all the way through. Merch was set up on the other side of the wall facing the bar, and that left even lesser room for the audience. But behind the Night Demon merch table, I had absolutely no space to work with, and I'm seriously amazed at having pulled off a busy merch night without knocking over the table. I had to crawl, kneel, twist, and move in all kinds of directions. I know I talked about being flexible as a merch guy in this previous blog, and this gig required it more than ever. It was packed, hot, and toasty inside this place, to the extent that I almost passed out at one point before taking off most of my layers and returning back to normal. As many as 4 local openers were on the bill, so it was an unnecessarily long night. And the sound quality of the room was downright atrocious. Night Demon finally went on at 11:15 p.m., and the venue was trying to cut their set down to less than 30 minutes, which was beyond ridiculous. Besides, most people in attendance were behaving in an extremely rude manner. Working the merch was frustrating. Dustin, originally based out of Bangor, PA, before he moved to California, got to see a lot of his family members at this show, and it was an evening he was definitely looking forward to. But other than that, it was probably my least favorite show of the tour. The only 2 good things about the venue were a $1 bar discount for anyone who bought band merch, and Lamb of God being played on the PA between sets, affiliated with this city perhaps mainly due to Philadelphia, which is a song they have. Get the fuck out, yelled the security dude. Sorry, let me say that correctly. Get the fuck out, yelled the security dude very aggressively and repeatedly as soon as the show ended. It would be totally appropriate for Pennsylvania to have that phrase on the welcome sign for their state line. Ouch. The fondest memory I'll have from this evening is eating this enormous slice of pizza from a place across the street called Lorenzo's. I will say Lorenzo's is amazing. I've been going there since I started touring in the late 90s. I think somebody told me that their secret is that they put, I think, strawberry jam in their marinara sauce. I don't know. Maybe it makes it a little sweeter or something. It's amazing. I highly recommend Lorenzo's for anybody going to Philadelphia. Skip the cheesesteak wars and go there. But speaking of cheesesteak wars, here we go. Day 56, November 23rd, the showdown. Before we set out to leave Philly to head to Baltimore for the next gig at Metro Gallery, upon Jarvis's recommendation, I decided to try out the famous Philly cheesesteak at not one, but two places, Pat's and Gino's, fierce rivals located across the street from each other. The name of the Wi-Fi network at Gino's came up as Pat Sucks Gino's D. And as I've said, and I'd have to say Gino's makes tastier Philly cheesesteaks. The gig in Baltimore on this Sunday evening was uneventful, but wasn't bad by any means. And my highlight of it was dinner and an interview with the Gallagher brothers. It was an awesome science fiction themed restaurant called Lost City Diner, down the street from the venue. Even after eating such obscene amounts of food, I was somehow completely awake and alert at the merch table simply because I just love doing it for this band. The mind controls the body in ways that never cease to amaze. Day 57, November 24th, feels like home. After the Baltimore gig, we ate at a place called Double T Diner at 2 a.m. Then Dustin drove us straight to Richmond, where we stayed with Twisted Tower Dyer and Vulture guitarist Dave Boyd. Dustin managed to stay awake on the drive by air drumming to Accept's Metal Heart, an album he forever wears on his arm in the form of a tattoo, even as everyone else was passed out and I was only waking up intermittently to check whether he was awake on the wheel. The temperatures as well as people's hearts were relatively much warmer in Richmond. It was 75 degrees out and everyone was nice. It felt like California. Every time I think of Richmond, Virginia, Lamb of God frontman Randy Blythe announcing the band's hometown as Richmond motherfucking Virginia comes to mind straight away. Strange Matter, the venue for the gig, emanated a welcoming vibe right from the outset, and it turned out to be a pleasant experience from start to finish. We ate at a Five Guys before load-in, but since the venue fed us for free, I was in pig mode. I tried out their vegan buffalo wings sandwich, and it was delicious. I also did an interview with Joe Hasselvander from Raven, which was as great as expected. Opening bands, Twisted Tower Dyer and Humongous, were both beyond excellent with some righteous old school metal. And in terms of the quality of musicianship from all bands on the lineup, this was easily the best show of the whole tour. Night Demon certainly hopes to work with these bands again. Day 58, November 25th, Parting Ways. Night Demon's 42nd and final show of the Raven tour was finally upon us, and it took place at the Maywood in Raleigh, North Carolina. Pre-show meal at the Pit Authentic Barbecue put us all in a food coma, but we had plenty of time on our hands. It was a good gig for a Tuesday night in a town like Raleigh, and hometown traditional metal warriors Widow put on an excellent show. But it was all about Raven and Night Demon saying goodbye to each other, and the Raven guys clearly showed their gratitude towards their support act, rushing the stage for some goofy pranks during Night Demon's set, and then later inviting the guys on stage during their own encore to sing Born to Be Wild. This gig had a bittersweet feeling to it, at least in my perspective, because I now need to get used to not seeing Raven every night. It's been a pleasure touring with these great gents, and I'll certainly miss them. But our tour is far from over. And at the time of writing this, we are on our way to the 529 bar in Atlanta to come full circle at the very same place where it all started. Raven have showed us how to rock until you drop, and the final installment of the blog will capture the events of the two final Night Demon headline shows on the way home as we do our best to follow that motto.
Hey guys, Nesbitt here. If you'd like to support Night Demon and this podcast, the best way to do it is to become a Night Demon subscriber. Not only will you be doing your part to support a true heavy metal band out there really living it, you'll also gain access to a ton of extras. Bonus audio content, a subscriber-only merch store with rare items from the band's archives. You can stream never-before-heard demos and unearthed live concerts from the live vaults. Communicate with the other Night Demon diehards on an exclusive subscriber forum, and gain early access to all press releases, album pre-orders, new merchandise, and a ton more. And another thing that I think is pretty cool is Night Demon will be donating 10% of every subscription fee to the Metal Cares Foundation, which is a charitable fund the band started in 2014 to aid those in our metal community. So head over to nightdemon.net/subscriber and join us as we make heavy metal history together as one. And on a side note, I'll personally think you're a grade A badass.
Part 10 of the blog and the final installment, Home Stretch. After saying goodbye to Raven in Raleigh, North Carolina, we rolled on to hit the home stretch with two Night Demon headline shows on the long drive back to Southern California. Arriving back at the 529 in Atlanta for the first of the two headline shows literally, I have a hard time saying that word, brought us full circle to where we started this epic journey 8 weeks ago. The gig was a late one for us, with Night Demon going on at 12:45 a.m., but they got to play a longer set, and the event was handled very professionally by promoter Amos Rifkin. On the day of the Las Cruces gig, the road burn was definitely hitting us and was evident from our general demeanor. But with this Bong Man show being another late affair, the band delivered the goods on stage when they went on at 1 a.m., and played the longest set of the tour, consisting of 12 songs. They got a tremendous response from a typically enthusiastic and young Las Cruces, New Mexico crowd. And visiting the green room for the second time on this tour wasn't in vain. Then, of course, there was the legendary 6-foot Bong Man sandwich put out for the bands to devour. We spent the night in a Super 8 motel room near the venue, left in the early morning, and following the last dinner of the tour at Texas Roadhouse in Peoria, Arizona on Sunday the 30th. On Monday morning, we crossed the best state line of all, California. Always one to rise to the occasion, Jarvis cranked Roy Orbison's California Blue on the stereo as I ticked the van clock back to Pacific Standard Time. And finally, to the sounds of Randy Newman's I Love L.A., Night Demon dropped me off on Sunset Boulevard at 1 p.m. Being on this tour was a fantastic experience, to say the least, and not only gave me a first-hand glimpse into a metal band's life on the road, but exposed me to some of the inner workings of the music industry more than ever before. Night Demon handled all aspects of this grueling 9-week tour with utmost professionalism. The three members got along with each other throughout this duration and put on the best possible show for the audiences every night, which was commendable in itself. The tour van didn't give us any trouble whatsoever, which was an important factor. But the biggest game changer on this tour was the kindness of Night Demon's circle of fans, people they'd known from the past, as well as those we'd met for the first time at the shows. Being able to stay at people's houses as opposed to sleeping in the van or booking hotel rooms every night certainly helped in a major way. And for readers especially those in other bands. The lesson to be learned from Night Demon's interactions with their hosts is to be hospitable and at your best behavior in order to create a network across the country where you'd be invited back into these houses the next time you come around. Besides, we exercised all possible food options while traveling on this run, and the cheap fast food outlets are undeniably a lifesaver, at least for young metal bands. A total distance of 18,500 miles was traveled through 30 states in the USA and 2 in Canada, an experience we will remember for the rest of our lives. Thank you guys, and thank you, Andrew, for this trip down memory lane. We're so grateful to have you in our lives and to have this blog. This is an exceptional piece of journalism. I mean, that could almost be turned into a book in a way. And I'm sure you remember even more stuff that's not here. So if you ever want to write that book and tell all the dirt, I'm sure you were being really nice on these blogs. Feel free. We would love to have that.
What an experience, you know. What a great time to be in Night Demon. What a great time to be on the road with Raven. What a great time to build a friendship with those guys. What a great time to make friends in this country and to keep those friends throughout the span of Night Demon. I mean, so many people helped us out on that tour. You know, we ended up meeting Steve Yoder for the first time. He invites us to his house. You know, we play Satan's Den. Like, how freaking cool, you know? We went out with nothing and came back with a lot. And you can't take that away from a band. I would challenge any band to do that and to come back with what we came back with. You know, so many bands strive to do that, but only so many actually do it. And only so many go to the next level like Night Demon has and continues to take those steps forward. You know, it speaks volumes. And for me, I will never forget the experience of being in Night Demon and to be on a tour like that and to take my drumming to the next level. So.
And that was the Raven Night Demon Extermination America tour. Thank you guys.
Hey Jarvis, hey Jarvis, how you doing?
Good. What's up, Rob? How's it going up in the Bay?
Jarvis, you've been working really hard. You just came off the long tour of Raven. How are you feeling after that? That was a lot of days. How many days exactly again? I can't remember.
Well, I mean, I don't know exactly how many days. It was like 44 shows over 9 weeks and 18,526 miles traveled in the great United States. So, yeah, it was a lot of back and forth. It was a lot. The weather was pretty terrible in a lot of places, something you're probably not used to because you live in the best place in the world right now. But yeah, no, it was definitely rewarding, though. You know, I mean, it was, you know, touring life is not glamorous, but it's definitely rewarding. That's one thing I'll say about it. And it was good for us. You know, I mean, there were some people that thought, you know, Night Demon would never, ever come to their town. They thought they'd have to go to Europe to see us on a festival or something, you know. So that in itself is really cool, and it was a success for us. You know, we came out on the winning side of things, so which is very hard for touring bands to do these days. But you know, we planned it right, and we were killing it every night on stage. You know, so and one thing about metal fans is, you know, they do support the bands and they do buy merchandise, and that always helps get you through.
Well, that's really good because I've also brought up the fact that you brought up, interesting enough, a lot of bands are struggling to make it on tours. It's every article that's coming out now is talking about bands that didn't, make that much money or something. Right. They blew away, they didn't watch their finances. And I also want to ask, do you think that having Raven, a veteran band with you there, it kind of helped you guys, get the shows, get the crowds, and also just kind of have the opportunity to travel across so many miles and also have a band such as Raven, who, again, you very much look up to as, a band?
I would say yes and no. I would say, for the most part, yes. I mean, obviously it helped because, they're the headliner, they're the draw, they've been around for 40 years. However, with this style of metal, I mean, they're not a commercially viable band.
That's true.
It's like, it's not like we're doing, 1,000-seaters or anything like that. I mean, there were some great markets, obviously up in the Bay and in L.A., New York, Chicago, Austin, Texas, places like that where, but the biggest crowds, were like, a couple hundred people, some places we played to 4 people. Literally 4 people. But, those 4 people were into it, and, we put on the same show no matter who's there. It wasn't like the typical, stereotypical big opportunity for a band where you get to go support a big band and you get exposed to this whole new audience of fans. That's not really what it was. What we did, though, was we did get exposed to a lot of really old-school fans that had no idea that there were newer bands like us, like doing this kind of stuff. So it was definitely cool, and on an underground level and on a grassroots level of touring, it was a total success.
That's good. I'm really glad. Again, it sounds like you guys had a great time, and what's even better, is that I actually got to find out what you guys were doing on tour thanks to the Metal Assault website blog.
Okay.
That was a great opportunity for fans to hear what was going on. I got to tell the writer from me that he did a great job. I like how he documented it. I was able to really hear a lot of interesting stories and get some information about, touring life that I never really heard of, and also some experiences that I'm pretty sure that I don't want to experience.
Well, yeah. That was one of the things too, from, our strategy of touring was definitely to have a lot of merch and like a lot of new stuff to sell to the fans. Like a lot of fans already have a lot of stuff that they've gotten through mail order. The other thing was, to bring a journalist on the road with us and kind of document the whole thing, not make a movie or anything, just write a blog, and it definitely helped, and it definitely generated some interest in the tour. He's going to be coming out with this actually on the next tour and doing the same thing. We're only home for a few weeks.
I know you guys have a little time to rest, and you hit out again with Elm Street and Skullfist.
Yes.
2 bands from Canada, which I find interesting, are going to be making their way.
Well, Elm Street's actually from Australia.
They're from Australia? Okay.
Yeah.
I messed that geography up. Whoops.
but anyway, yeah, Skullfist is from Canada. So
again, that's a long ways for both bands in a sense.
Yeah, and it's a long ways for us, too. We live in Southern California, and we start this tour in Albany, New York,
Oh, okay.
So in the dead of winter, so we have to drive all the way out there just to start it,
That is going to be tough for you, yeah.
But we're committed to it, that's the thing. And, like you talk about bands that complain a lot or say they don't make any money. It's like, I guess that's just the reality of the game. But if you're going to be in it, then just be in it and don't complain. We find other ways. We find new and creative ways to generate income, without doing things like a Kickstarter and stuff. Like I'm not talking bad on bands because it's not my place. Every band runs their business different and stuff, and fans want to contribute in ways like that. But that's just something that we're not really interested in doing because we don't want to be out there. It's our choice to live this lifestyle and do this band. We're not going to be out there begging our fans to keep us alive. What we're going to do is we're going to come to your town. We're going to put on a great show with production value, and we're going to have great product for you to buy. That's, I think, the best way for us to do it. And if we can't make it on that, then we either need to figure something else, another way to do it, or just start doing it better.
That's a hard work mentality, people.
Yeah,
you got to clap for that. That's what we need. That's what we got to say.
It's like, you know what I'm saying, though? You make a choice in your life with what you want to do with it, and then you have to just be the best at it. And that's the way you're going to succeed with it. You can't give up on it, you can't. I mean, there's so many, a lot of people say that we're a very lucky band, but people don't really know the day-to-day setbacks that happen. And I mean, this stuff happens every day. I mean, there's tragedy every day in Night Demon world, but we don't talk about that stuff publicly. We talk about the good things, and these are just obstacles that we need to overcome in order to be a successful band, and that's just the way it goes.
That's true.
I mean, so you're never going to get your fair shake from the world, but if you keep going with it, like, you'll find that there are always opportunities out there, and for every opportunity that falls through, another one's there. You just have to look for it.
Yeah, and to quickly point out here, all those bands that are complaining about the touring and the money, hey, Dustin almost got ran over by a bunch of Germans. That's pretty scary, okay? Don't you complain out there, all you whiny little bands. He almost got run over? Is that the story I've heard on the blog?
What's that?
He was close to getting crushed by the bus of Germans or something, the RV.
Right. Yeah, that happened like the first day of the tour.
That's scary.
Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that happens. It's dangerous out there. I mean, especially the weather conditions. I mean, we were driving through some of the heaviest snow. There were like 5 deaths on the highway, but we made it to our gig. We just got to be safe and do whatever we can to get there. But that's the thing. Like, if you show up to your number one fan's town, no matter how small it is, it's like these people support you. That's what a lot of bands don't understand. They're too afraid to even go out there and try it because of the financial risk. But once you get there, if you have something, you have to build on it, and you have to start somewhere with it. So that's what we're doing, and that's what we're going to continue to do. And with that, it's like, we're signed up with SPV Steamhammer in Europe and now Century Media in the States. So it's like these labels, they recognize the hard work that we put in, and we're still working hard. And all they're doing is helping us with things that we can't do on our own, just that extra push. We're not relying on them for money or for anything like that. People think that we got signed and now we're rich and all that, and that's just not true. I mean, we're all living out of backpacks, but that's the life that we chose, and we're definitely not complaining about it. Like, it's been a great ride. It's been a lot of fun, and it's very rewarding, just being able to be able to create and make art and have your fan base be a part of it without begging them to keep you going. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's it for this week, and that's it for the 2014 Extermination Tour. 10 years ago. It's funny to hear that post-tour interview. The band has changed a lot, both in the members and the sound, but in a way, some things haven't changed at all. Like you heard in that interview, Night Demon, they still tour relentlessly. They still keep it positive. They never complain. They bring it 100% every night, no matter the size of the venue or the crowd. They're still the band, the same band that never stops grinding. Basically, no matter how big the band grows and how big the venues get, the core values of what drive Night Demon back in 2014 are pretty much still what's driving them to this day. As always, I'll mention the subscriber section on nightdemon.net. It's a massive archive of all things Night Demon. If you're a regular listener of the podcast, you're only getting part of the story. There's audio and video from shows on this tour and lots of other tours. Starting with, it goes right back to Night Demon's first gig ever, and right up to the current era of Night Demon. So there's actually demos up there that predate the first gig. There's photo galleries, unreleased tracks, isolated tracks, bonus episodes. You could spend days and days digging around in there. All things Night Demon. For more details on becoming a subscriber, go to nightdemon.net. Until next week, this is Nesbitt signing off.
Through the years they roam the place, native sons of noble race. Pain and suffering they felt, from injustice they were dealt. Lost souls will rise at the toll of the bell. All seeing eyes, don't try to fight, there's no way out. You're gonna die on hollow ground.
Thanks for listening to the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast. Head over to nightdemon.net, click on the subscriber tab, and sign up to access exclusive weekly bonus content. If you would like to donate to support the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast, you can do so through PayPal at paypal.me/nightdemonmetal. Additionally, if you have not already done so, please subscribe, like, rate, and review the show on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts.
All hail, Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast listeners. This is Dusty Squires chiming in to tell you about my brand new signature sticks from the London Drumstick Company. I've dreamt of having my very own drumsticks ever since I was a wee lad, and LDC made that a possibility for me. Founded in 2016 in London, England, the birthplace of heavy metal, the London Drumstick Company has trailblazed a path through the music industry and taken the drummer world by storm. When I met them for the first time, they knew their product was going to withstand the beatings of a Night Demon show. They took the time to work with me on getting everything just right. The balance and weight of my sticks are the same no matter what, and the durability is bar none the best I've ever had. I know my sticks will last through the set night after night. I'm truly honored to work with a company that caters to their players the way LDC does. Their innovation and attention to detail is what separates them from the rest of the stick makers out there. Their custom stick sleeves are unbelievable and really make the entire presentation complete. Wait until you see the design they came up with for me. It blew my mind and was a surprise to say the least. They have all kinds of amazing swag, including hoodies, t-shirts, drummer shorts, drum keys, stick bags, towels, face masks, practice pads, and much, much more. Even if you're not a drummer, you can be a part of Demon history and order my brand new signature sticks direct from their website. How cool is that? And to top it off, the London Drumstick Company are giving an exclusive offer to the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast listeners. Go to londondrumsticks.co.uk and receive a 15% store-wide discount using promo code DEMONSTICKS. All capital letters, no spaces, Demon Sticks. DEMONSTICKS. I can't thank everyone there enough for the opportunity to be a part of their family and for them trusting me with their amazing products. See you metal maniacs on the road very soon. And yes, the wood chips will be flying.
Greetings, boils and ghouls. This is your comrade, the Crypt Keeper here, reporting dead from the sanctuary of the strange. Tonight's macabre myth is a fright-filled feature, one overflowing with monsters, madness, and magic.
Visit our website at monstersmadnessandmagic.com to stay up to date on all the dark dealings within the sanctuary of the strange. Enjoy the show.
Hey Metalheads, I'm Mark and I host the Metal Forge. Let me tell you about the show. The Metal Forge features the best underground metal from all over the world. We spend every week with a different artist with interviews, in-depth conversations, and most of all, the music. We also feature audience interactivity where you can submit your questions to the upcoming guests. New episodes are out every Friday at noon Eastern Time at metalforgeradio.com or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Want to know what's going on in the world of music? Then tune in to the Nothing Shocking Podcast, a non-genre based, all-ages friendly rock and roll program. Join us weekly for interviews with all your favorite rock stars from the mainstream to the underground. You can find us at nothingshocking.libsyn.com or anywhere you download podcasts.
Okay, metalheads, you've been complaining that there has not been a channel
that plays all of the heavy metal videos from past, present, and future for years and years at this point. Well, that time is over. Heavy Metal Television is back. HeavyMetalTelevision.net is the website. Go there. You can see videos playing 24/7, 365, all the time, all the best from the old school, the new school, and everything in between. Check it out, HeavyMetalTelevision.net. It is where the metal is.